Hello class, hello to all. So today in this microbiology class, I would be taking up the topic of introduction to viruses. This basically would deal with the general properties of viruses. So as we know that there are microorganisms which can be classified in this manner, the eukaryotes and the prokaryotes. And of course the viruses, but they are certainly a little different. Eukaryotes are protozoa and fungi, and prokaryotes are bacteria, mycoplasma, rickettsia, chlamydia. Viruses do not strictly fall into the category of unicellular organisms because they are different. Now we'll see that how viruses are different from other microorganisms. The microorganisms have cellular organization, but viruses do not have a cellular organization. Microorganisms are the cells enclosed within a cell wall, and they contain both types of the genomic material, the nucleic acids, the DNA and the RNA. But viruses contain only one type of nucleic acid. Either it may be DNA or RNA, but never both. This feature is unique to viruses. The microorganisms can synthesize their own macromolecular constituents, but viruses depend on the host. These are obligate intracellular parasites. They lack enzymes necessary for protein and nucleic acid synthesis and are dependent for replication on the synthetic machinery of the host cells. Basically, the viruses enter into the host and take the required nutrient from the host and cannot synthesize on its own. They are dependent for replication on the synthetic machinery of the host cells. The other microorganisms multiply by binary fission, but viruses do not multiply by binary fission. They have their own complex process. The bacteria, the microorganisms are affected by antibacterial antibiotics, but viruses are not. As you know that antibacterial therapy is there, but antiviral therapy is there, but for very few of the viral conditions. Still, viruses are considered microorganisms in medical microbiology. Okay, so how are viruses different and what are viruses actually? If they are not like others, then what are they? So, as I've told you, a virus can be defined as an obligate intracellular parasite of bacteria, fungi, protozoa, algae, plants, and animals. It means that they are able to multiply only within the living cells of a host. They need a host to multiply. They are inactive outside the body of the host. They are active macromolecules only. They are chemical molecules only when they are outside the host cell, but become active when they enter the host. They can infect the bacteria also, like bacteriophages. Then they infect plants, animals, and of course the human beings included. Then the viruses are actually occupying the twilight zone that separates the living and non-living. And this is said because they do not independently fulfill the characteristics of life. They are neither living nor non-living. Okay? They do not fulfill the characteristics of life. They are acellular. They do not have any nucleus organelles. They do not have a cellular organization. There is absence of nucleus organelles, cytoplasm, and the plasma membrane. Viruses contain only one type of nucleic acid, as I've told you. It can be either single or double stranded, DNA or RNA, but never both. This feature is unique to viruses. It can be double stranded DNA, it can be single stranded DNA, it can be double stranded RNA, it can be single stranded RNA. Then, still, viruses are capable of causing a large number of diseases, ranging from common cold to terrifying diseases such as rabies or AIDS. They can even cause cancer in animal, birds, and humans. There is a wide variety of the diseases caused by viruses. Okay, morphology. So, viruses are very, very small. Of course, they are microorganisms, they are smaller than bacteria, but they have a wide variety in size. They can be much smaller and they can be a little larger. The size ranges from 20 nanometer to 450 nanometer in diameter. They are ultra microscopic. Okay, they need electron microscopy to be seen and other advanced microscopic techniques. The largest virus is the pox virus, which measures 300 nanometer, and the smallest is parvovirus, measuring 20 nanometer. There is a wide range in the size. Structure and shape. Yes, this is important. Virus called a viron. Viron is a full virus. Also, when it has all the features of its morphology. So each viral particle or viron consists of a single nucleic acid, RNA or DNA, encoding the viral genome. This is the viral genome, RNA or DNA, and it is surrounded by a protein coat known as the capsid. This capsid is composed of protein components known as the capsomers. The capsid plus the genome in combination is called the nucleocapsid. The role of this capsid is to protect the nucleic acid from inactivation by nucleases and other deleterious agents outside in the environment, and it also helps to introduce the viral genome into the host cells by absorbing readily to the cell surfaces. So basically it helps in binding. Okay. Now the capsid shape varies from simple helical and icosahedral forms to more complex structures with tails. So there are three kinds in which the capsid has a shape. The helical viruses have a elongated tube-like structure. I'll show you all this in a picture. Okay. Helical viruses have elongated tube-like structure with the capsomeres arranged helically around the coiled genome. Icosahedral viruses. These have a spherical shape with icosahedral symmetry consisting of 20 triangular faces. The simplest icosahedral capsid has 3 capsomers per triangular face, resulting in 60 capsomers for the entire virus. For example, the parvovirus and the poliovirus. These have icosahedral shapes. Now, the viruses which do not fall into these two categories and have a complex structure are known as the complex viruses. For example, the pox virus and the bacteriophage virus. Now, some viruses also possess an additional outer membrane known as the envelope. Okay, they can be enveloped or non-enveloped. The non-enveloped ones are also called naked. The envelope is actually acquired from the nuclear or plasma membrane of the infected host cells while the viruses are replicating. So this envelope is acquired from the host cell. Envelope is lipoprotein in nature. That is, it has a lipid as well as protein. Okay, the lipid is of host cell origin while the protein is virus coded. Okay. Then envelope has also a role. It confers chemical role, that is, it makes it susceptible to the action of lipid solvents like ether, chloroform, and bile salts. Then antigenic properties. Uh, it helps in the specific neutralization of virus infectivity, and biological, that is, it helps in the attachment to host cell surface or hemagglutination. Okay, so envelope has these roles. Now the protein subunits may be seen as projecting spikes on the surface of the envelope. In the viruses which have an envelope around them, some protein subunits are also seen projecting from the surface, and these are called as peplomers. Some viruses contain viral enzymes which are necessary for infection of a host cell and coded for within the viral genome. Okay, then overall shape of the virus particle varies in different groups of viruses. There is a range, different viruses have different shapes. Okay, the example of the viruses in which there are enzymes are neuraminidase in influenza virus, retroviruses which have RNA dependent, DNA dependent polymerase or transcriptase which can transcribe RNA into DNA. Yes, now see this picture. It shows the envelope. This is basically an enveloped virus. Okay, envelope, it has envelope protein which is called as peplomers. Then inside this it is a nucleocapsid layer. Okay, this blue circles you can see, this is the nucleocapsid layer. Inside this is the genomic material, viral genome. Okay, nucleocapsid. Okay, this is the genomic material and this is the capsid outside. Okay, and together it is called as the nucleocapsid. Okay, then in this figure the similar things are shown, and but it shows the enzymes also. Okay, this also shows the capsid in which there is the genomic material, DNA or RNA, never both. Okay, and outside this is the envelope along with the protein which is called the peplomers. Okay, now this shows the types of the capsids. The helical viruses. Okay, see the arrangement, how this is how the capsomers are arranged. Okay, then next is the icosahedral viruses and the complex viruses. Okay, see how it is in the shape matters here. It is helical in shape. This is icosahedral shape and these are the complex ones. Now icosahedral shapes has this in this picture it shows the 20 sided with 12 corners. This can vary in the number of capsomers. Each capsomer may be made of one or several proteins and some are enveloped. Okay, the icosahedral type. This picture also shows the morphology of viruses, the naked and the enveloped viruses. Okay, so naked icosahedron has the capsomer, the nucleic acid core and the capsid, but no envelope. Okay, envelope is found in the enveloped icosahedron type. and on top of it, it has spike-like projections, which are called the peplomers. Okay, in this one, the naked rigid helix, the helical type without an envelope. Okay, so this is helical in shape. It has capsomers, it has a nucleic acid core, and it has a capsid outside. Okay, and the enveloped one has an envelope outside it, and the projections known as the peplomers. So this basically shows the difference between the naked ones and the enveloped ones. This is in icosahedron types and this is in helical type. This is non-enveloped and this is enveloped. Similarly, here in the helical type, this is non-enveloped and this is enveloped. This picture also shows the similar thing. Now this picture shows the examples of the viruses. Okay, you can just see bacteriophage virus, human deficiency virus, influenza virus, how these are seen and how their structure is. Adenovirus, tobacco mosaic virus, and Ebola virus. So different viruses have different shapes and structures. They can be classified in numerous ways. Okay, based on these. Resistance. Now, with few exceptions, viruses are actually heat labile microorganisms. But there are individual variations, of course, since there are so many types of viruses. But in general, they can be inactivated within seconds at 56 degrees Celsius, within minutes at 37 degrees Celsius, and within days at 4 degrees Celsius. They are stable at lower temperatures. For long-term storage, they are kept frozen at minus 70 degrees Celsius. Now, viruses vary greatly in their resistance to acidity. For example, the enteroviruses are very resistant to acid pH, while rhinoviruses are very susceptible. All the viruses are disrupted under alkaline conditions. Viruses are inactivated by sunlight, UV rays, and ionizing radiations. And the most active antiviral disinfectants are hydrogen peroxide, potassium permanganate, and hypochlorites. Yes, virus replication cycle. The virus replication cycle consists of 5 steps: the attachment, the penetration or viral entry, the synthesis, assembly, and release. In this stage of attachment, the virion attaches to the correct host cell. Outside of the host cell, viruses are inert, okay, and inactive. But when they encounter a host cell, it is a random event. The attachment itself is highly specific between molecules on the outside of the virus and receptors on the host cell surface. This accounts for the specificity of viruses to only infect particular cell types or particular hosts. Now, after the attachment, penetration occurs in which the virus or viral nucleic acid gains entrance into the cell. Okay. Then the third step is synthesis. In this step, the viral proteins and nucleic acid copies are manufactured by the cell's machinery. Okay. Now the next step after this is assembly. Viruses are produced from the viral components. Release. Newly formed virions are released from the cell in this stage. I can explain this in brief from this picture itself. Okay. In step 1, see, there is attachment. The phage attaches to the specific receptors on the cell wall of E. coli. Then in the next step, penetration. Following the attachment, the phage DNA is injected injected into the bacterial cell, leaving the phage coat outside. Then in the third stage, the phage DNA is transcribed, producing phage mRNA, which is translated to phage protein. In the fourth step, replication occurs, replication of phage DNA and synthesis of proteins. The phage coat proteins, other protein components, and DNA are produced separately. Post DNA is now degraded. Then in the fifth step, assembly, the phage components are assembled into mutated variants. And finally, the bacterial cell lyses and releases many infective phage. The cultivation of viruses. Viruses are obligate intracellular parasites, so they cannot be grown on any inanimate culture medium. There are three methods employed for cultivation, that is inoculation into animals, embryonated eggs, tissue cultures, which are again of three types: organ culture, explant culture, and cell culture. The details of this should be referred from the book, and of course, the virus replication cycle is also to be read from the book, the minor details. Since this is an introductory class, so I have just touched these in brief. Okay. Now, tools for studying the structure. Viruses can be studied only under electron microscopy, X-ray diffraction, and cryo-electron microscopy, since these are ultra-microscopic organisms and are very much smaller than bacteria and cannot be seen easily. Okay. Now, classification. The classification of viruses can be done in various ways depending upon the size and shape, the chemical composition, structure of the genome, mode of replication, and many more ways. Okay, there are various ways in which we can make a classification. But here a broad classification is given, that is into RNA and the DNA viruses. You can see in this chart the DNA viruses, the double standard ones, the single standard ones. Okay, unenveloped ones, that is parvoviruses, and further again enveloped and unenveloped in the double standard ones with their examples. Then RNA viruses, negative and positive RNA, and the other various RNA along with the examples. Okay, these can be taken up in detail in more classes. Okay, so as an introductory class, this was all for today's class. Thank you so much, and do read these from your microbiology books. Okay, so thanks to all. Thank you. Thank you to all.